Once you are in Substance Painter, create a new file and add the model that you exported before. Change the resolution of the project if you want to, and select OpenGL if you intend to render the model with Arnold, like we will in this video. I usually turn off the anti-aliasing and subsurface scattering while it works so the file becomes faster. The first thing you need to do is to paint the texture maps inside your material. You can select 4K to have a better resolution, and if you don't have an high poly version of the model, for example a sculpted version made in ZBrush, you can check the box Use Low Poly Mesh as High Poly Mesh. I always start with creating a base color layer. Then I duplicate it, I make it darker, I create a black mask, and I add an ambient occlusion generator to create some nice shadows. By moving the balance slider, you can control the intensity of the ambient occlusion. To create a group in Substance, you can press Ctrl G. If you add a black mask to the group folder, add a paint layer and select one or more objects, you can make the layers inside the group affect only the objects that you have selected in the paint layer. Duplicate a layer in Substance, press Ctrl D. Another cool generator is the curvature that adds a mask on the edges of the model. You can also add a filter to the mask and add a blur, for example. I prefer to add a blur filter instead of using the blur slider inside the curvature generator. I personally like the effect more. A generator similar to the curvature is the metal edge wear. Depending on the type of the model that you have, one works better than the other one, or you can also use both if you like. In this case, I preferred using the curvature instead. With a light generator, you can add a fake light effect to the model. You can change the direction and intensity of the light with the sliders inside the Properties window. With a position generator, you can add a gradient. For example, you can use it to create a light or shadow effect at the top or at the bottom of your model. If you add a fill layer to a mask and you search for a noise or a grunge texture, you can add that texture to the mask to create interesting effects. After texturing the cactus, I proceeded with the other parts of the model using the same method. I created again a base layer and I put it inside a folder. I added a mask to the folder by selecting the parts of the model with the material I will create inside the folder. I've noticed then a problem in my UVs that I couldn't hide inside Substance, so I went inside Maya and I saw that the UVs were not smooth. If you have the same problem, you can solve it by clicking on Preserve Edges inside the Smooth settings before smoothing an object. If you change the UVs on a model and you want to reimport inside Substance without losing your work, you can go to Edit, Project Configuration, Select, and you can select your new model. You have to make sure first that your model has the same exact material name as the old one. Then you have to do the baking again with the updated UVs. To create the marble on the vase, I created a darker layer, I created a back mask, and I added a marble texture to a fill layer inside the mask. If you don't want to redo all the layers every time, you can duplicate them and change the color instead, or you can create a smart material if you prefer. This is the final result in Substance Painter, and now it's time to export the textures for Maya. You can choose the location where you want to export your textures at the top. You can select the Arnold preset if you're gonna use Arnold to render your model. You can also change the type of file that you want your textures to be and their resolution. If there are textures that you don't need to export, you can uncheck them. Then click on Export. Inside Maya, right-click on the object Material Attributes to visualize the material of the model. Then add the base color texture to the color under base. The roughness map under the specular roughness, and the normal or height map under geometry bump mapping. If you use the normal map, make sure that you choose raw instead of sRGB. To add a light in Maya, go to Arnold, Lights, and choose the light that you prefer. Under Arnold Render View, you can see the progress of your render. I usually add 2 area lights, one in the front and one in the back of the model, and a sky dome light. You can change the color, the intensity, and the exposure of your lights inside the attribute editor. Under Create, Cameras, Camera, you can add a new camera that you will use to render your scene. You can change the focal length inside the attribute editor. To easily create a background for your model, you can start with a plane, decrease the number of edges inside the channel, and extrude one edge up. Then bevel that edge with the bevel tool to create a smooth, curved transition. To increase the resolution of your render, go to the render settings and increase the camera, the diffuse resolution, and the resolution of the image. Another thing you can do to get rid of the noise is to increase the number of samples inside each light, but don't exaggerate because this will increase the render times. Under Windows, Relationship Editor, Light Linking, Light Centric, you can make a light affect only a specific object, or an object be affected only by a specific light if you click Object Centric. In this case, I didn't want the backlight to affect and create a shadow on the background. Before the final render, you can increase the camera samples and choose the final resolution of the image that you want to save. In the render view, I usually start an IPR rendering with the camera I want to make sure that it's the right one, before clicking on the rendering icon to start the final render. Go to File, Save Image to save your render, and choose Color Manage Image if you want the image to be exactly like the one you see in the render window. This is the final result. I hope you like it, and I'll see you in the next video.